Let me show you 10 yoga poses today that are going to be suitable for all stages of pregnancy to help you deal with those aching legs. Once you finish watching this video, I have a free PDF that you can download that will list through all the exercises that we're going to go through today. So go to the description box and you'll be able to sign up for that one. If you'd prefer to be guided through a yoga class, I have lots of those here on my channel, so go and check those out in the pregnancy playlist. Or you can join my online yoga circle, which is my membership community, where you'll find lots of classes for pregnancy, for preparing for birth, and for postpartum. All of the links will be below. There are a whole range of changes that are going on in your body that are creating this pain and ache in the legs. So this could be anything from the different weight that you're carrying. So as your belly gets bigger, as your body starts to hold onto more weight, you're doing more with your legs. They're generally walking around holding that extra weight all day. You also have a different level of blood volume. So our blood volume during pregnancy increases dramatically. So this can be why your legs feel swollen and sore at the end of the day, particularly if you're sitting all day or if you're standing all day. We often find our posture changes when we're pregnant. So where we might have gone from having a really good posture pre-pregnancy, once pregnant, our belly might be drawing us forward a lot. And this is putting our posture off. And then finally, it can also be down to dehydration and nutritional deficiencies. So I would highly recommend, if you haven't already, talk to your doctor about what your levels are doing, or go and see a naturopath who can give you some ideas on how to make sure you're getting the right nutrition and the right amount of hydration so that your legs aren't aching because of those reasons. So the first pose I think you should be doing every day whilst pregnant is a good old calf stretch. So there's a number of ways to do this. This was always my favorite. So hands and knees, ball of the foot pressing in and just leaning back into that calf stretch. So you could always do this off a step in your home and just bring the ball of the foot up onto the block or the step and then let your heel hang down. So the next one I want you to do every day is more of a mobility exercise rather than a technical yoga pose. And that's because we don't want to just stretch out the body during pregnancy. You've already got relaxin moving through the body, stretching out all those ligaments and tendons so that your body can open for pregnancy and birth. We don't want to just stretch because then we create instability. We also want to have mobility, so the ability to move through a range of movements. And we want to have strength as well, particularly in the hips and in the pelvis. So what I want you to do is bring the hands behind you, bring the feet in front of you, and just take the knees from side to side. Go as far as you can. So if you can get the knees down, great. If you can't and they're still up here, that's fine. Just work with where they can get to. Taking them side to side, adding the breath always helps to make the movement more enjoyable and also help to bring your nervous system down if you're feeling a little bit stressed and anxious. So the next pose I'd like you to be doing every day is a seated forward fold. And I want you to use props for this practice because when you're pregnant, your legs get particularly tight because they're carrying all this extra weight around. So if you can, use a block or a rolled up blanket underneath the hips. So that's going to make it a lot easier for your pelvis to sit forward rather than round into the back. So once you're up, you can stretch the legs out in front of you. You can take the legs together if you like, or if it's more comfortable, you can keep them at hip distance. It's completely up to you. I do want you to bring bolsters into this party. If you don't have bolsters, again, blankets, pillows off your bed will work so that you can make it a really restorative pose. At the end of the day, when the legs are aching, you probably don't feel like doing a really active yoga practice. This one can feel really nice, really supportive. You could stack the hands so that the head and neck are really relaxed and supported here. So the next pose I would like you to practice daily is a wide leg forward fold. So as you can see, my feet are nice and wide on the mat. My toes are pointing forward and I'm using a block to bring the hands onto just to make it a little bit easier for myself. If you don't have a block, here are other ways you can practice this pose. So you can use a wall in the same way that you used a block. Just press the hands into the wall so that you can lower the chest down and get the stretch in the legs without having to take the heart below the legs, which can be a little bit too much, especially if you've got heartburn or reflux. You can also use a chair or the edge of your desk or kitchen bench to get into this pose in a really restorative way so that you're stretching out through the legs. From this position, you could also practice rocking from side to side in your wide leg forward fold, which is a great way to prepare and help baby get into the optimum position for birth, which I have other videos on and I'll leave them linked in the description box below for you as well. So downward facing dog is one of my favorite poses to stretch into the legs because you can pedal out here move through each side and really get into those hamstrings. But what happens when you're pregnant and that just doesn't feel good for the upper body, whether it's because you've got heartburn or reflex, or you're just kind of starting to feel really heavy and suffocated by the size of baby pressing on your diaphragm. So you can always practice down dog against a wall. So just walk up to the wall, bring the hands at hip height, walk the feet out, press the hands in, and voila, you have a down dog without having to go upside down. You can also do the same thing with a chair or the edge of your kitchen bench or your office desk. Pressing the hands in, walking the feet out until your body is making a right angle is essentially the same thing as a down dog. You can also pedal the feet out here as well so that you're getting those same benefits into the legs and stretching them out. So downward facing dog off a bench or a chair is a really great option, especially if you're on your feet all day or if you're sitting all day. So that stagnation is often what creates aches in the legs. So this is a good little break in the middle of your workday just to get that circulation moving in your legs again. So this is gate pose. Obviously it's pregnancy friendly. We're not putting any compression on the belly. You could even bring the hands down for support if you wanted. So we can do this standard gate pose during pregnancy, pressing down into the outer blade of that foot. We can work with side to side here, so we're also getting some upper body benefits as well. And as you'll notice, we're getting a nice stretch through the legs and through the inner thighs. We can also modify this pose if you're not feeling comfortable on the knees anymore. So if you move yourself so that you're sitting just off the chair, so this leg is completely supported and there's no stretch or strain in this leg, but I can still press into the outer blade of this foot and get that stretch through the inner thigh on this side. Don't underestimate how important movement is for releasing aches and pains. So when we're swollen and stiff and sore, what our body really needs is to move. So even just pumping the feet back and forth, getting that circulation going. So again, you could be doing this at your work desk, pumping the feet back and forth, or rolling the ankles around and around. This is really helpful for getting that circulation going. So go one way and the other, and doing that on both sides a couple of times every day, especially after long periods of sitting or standing, is going to be really helpful for your aching legs. All right, everyone's favorite hip opener, pigeon pose. It's kind of a love-hate relationship with this one during pregnancy. If you are unstable in the pelvis, this one is not suitable for you. So if you're having any pain in the front of the pelvis or perhaps in the lower back, that could be a sign of instability in the pelvis. I have a video on that one. I'll leave that linked below if you want to go check that one out instead. But if you're okay to do pigeon pose, so you know that you're feeling pretty good in the hips, maybe you're even feeling quite tight in the hips, then pigeon pose is a really nice one to stretch out into those hips. I would recommend using a bolster to support you. So the leg that's coming forward, this bolster is going to sit underneath the hip or underneath the bottom so that you're not having to come too far down into the hips. And then it's up to you whether you want to lean forward or you want to sit upright. Maybe you want to do some movement here in this pose, working into those hips so that you can gently stretch out and open into spaces that feel tight. If this feels too much, if you're like, I can't get down that low, if I do, I won't get back up, you can again do this pose in different variations. You could do it lying on your back if that felt comfortable, or take a seat up onto a bolster or onto a chair and bring one leg up and over. So we're making the same shape with our body, and as we gently lean forward, it's the same action as if we were in the full pigeon pose. So pyramid pose is another great pose for stretching out through the hamstrings, but also working on that strength through the hips. So moving up and down in this pose is helping to work through the strength to move through this range of movement. And then also finding stillness in this pose is working on releasing and lengthening through those muscles. So we can obviously continue to practice this pose stock standard during pregnancy. There's no belly compression. We could add blocks underneath the hands just to make it a little bit more accessible as the belly gets bigger. Or again, we can modify with the chair to make it a more gentle practice. And then finally, our legs up the wall pose has to be my number one for when you've got aching, swollen legs during pregnancy. However, this action while pregnant is really awkward and uncomfortable to get into. When you've got a big belly, when you've got a limited range of movement, getting into this position is quite tricky. And then you might have some heartburn issues going on, or perhaps you're just feeling a bit suffocated from baby in all your space here. So this laying on the back is not going to feel particularly comfortable. So let's modify this pose so that you still get the benefits of legs up the wall without actually doing standard legs up the wall. So the easiest way to do this is to just not expect you to have your bottom right pressed up against the wall, which is how we traditionally practice legs up the wall or Viparina Karani. Move your props a little bit further away so that you can have a bit of space between the bottom and the wall, which is going to make getting those legs up a lot more comfortable. So you'll notice I've elevated my upper body with the bolsters. So for me, I found in the second and third trimester, I didn't feel like I had a lot of space to breathe, not until baby really dropped and stopped pressing so much on my diaphragm. So I couldn't practice legs up the wall or really any poses where my head was below my legs because I just felt like I was suffocating and I was out of breath. Whereas this position I could stay in for quite a while. If the legs aren't comfortable straight, of course, you can also have them bent. Just having them above the head is going to help reduce that swelling, reduce that puffiness, and hopefully make your legs feel a whole lot better as well. So now that you know which 10 yoga practices to do each day during your pregnancy, I'd recommend checking out this video and practicing along with me. I'll see you soon.